Yeah, it's not super surprising. We didn't know if Dak Prescott could grip the ball yet. So, Jerry Jones wants to get his guy Dak out there. But Cooper Rush, now 5-0 lifetime, straight up and against the spread. The more that he wins, the more rope there is to be a little bit patient with Dak, get him fully healthy before they rush him back. This is a big one. You want him back for this. I'm not running to bet this game yet, though. We got the injury news for Dak. He's out, but we don't know about Philadelphia's offensive line yet. They had 4 of their 5 starters were banged up, and we don't know necessarily who's going to play. You need to know who's playing on your offensive line when you are facing Micah Parsons and this fierce defensive front from Dallas, number 1 in pressure rate on that side. So I don't want to necessarily run and pick a side on this one. I do lean under, though, and I think you want to grab the under quickly at 42.5. With Cooper Rush in, you have to figure that line is going to slowly drop. Cowboys games this year, all 39 points or below. So all 5 under the 42.5. Eagles have 3 of their 5 games at 37 or below. And this is Sunday night, primetime unders, 11-5 to the under as well. So I do think we're going to get another one of those grinding it out defensive sort of games. And Cooper Rush being out there only plays into that a little bit.
All right, so we'll continue to wait and see what happens with the Philly offensive line. Like you said, big time game there on Sunday Night Football. Let's get into some other games, though, Brandon, where you do have picks and plays. I remember last week we talked about the potential for the London hangover, right, as it related to the Vikings and the Saints. And it seems like you're going back to that when it comes to potentially fading the G-men this week.
Going back to the well, because the trends that we talked about last week hit both of them. So the Giants are coming out of London, no bye week. This is pretty rare in NFL history. We've got with Giants and Packers this week. We had it twice last week, only 5 times previously. And now counting last week, the team that comes back from London, that's jet lagged, they're tired. The defense especially seems to get tired. The opponent they're facing is 6-1 on team total overs all time. 2-0 last week. Both of them hit. So I like that one again with the Ravens this week. And also with London teams, all 7 of the teams that played in London have been tied or trailing in the fourth quarter the following week. So it's not such a big deal for the Giants, who are underdogs anyway, but you may want to store that one away for the Jets when they play the Packers. With the Ravens here, I like the team total over, not just because of the London trend. I like it because the Ravens are a really good offense. And we know that Lamar Jackson, number 2 in passing DVOA, one of the MVP leaders, he should light up the secondary. And guess who Lamar will see as he prepares for this game? Wink Martindale, the longtime Ravens defensive coordinator. He's the guy leading the charge for the Giants. The Giants have not really had a super talented breakout with their 4-1 year. They've had great coaching. Brian Dable, Wink Martindale, they've been awesome. They've really maximized the roster, but Lamar's been practicing against Wink Martindale for years now. He knows what's coming. He knows the blitz is coming. And this year, Lamar has been lighting up the blitz. He's got Ronnie Stanley back now. That'll help with the blocking. So I think the Ravens hang in there. I think they know how to attack this defense and put up a big number on the Giants. So I love the team total. That's that London trend. But I also just like the Ravens to cover. We've got our luck rankings now. I know you've talked about that on Green Dot with the guys here. Yeah. New York's win-loss record right now is 36.5% more lucky than the Ravens. That is the biggest differential in the league this week. And so far this year, when teams have a 33% luck differential or more, like the Ravens do, they're 15-2 against the spread. That is a pristine record. I will stick with the Ravens here to cover the 5, and I love their team total over 24.5.
Fair enough. It's interesting. You talk about Lamar and Wink Martindale, kind of knowledge of tendencies could be out there and in play. Absolutely. You know, I do the Fantasy Flex podcast with Samantha Praviti on Monday, and one of the big topics of conversation we had was, is it time to believe in Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks offense? And apparently you are. You think this is actually real out of what we're seeing from Geno, now Kenneth Walker, and Seattle?
I think it's real. And 5 weeks into the season, I'm honestly a little shocked that the books don't think that it's real yet. We have 5 games of data now, and those 5 games tell us the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith's Seattle Seahawks, are the number 1 offense in DVOA in the entire league. They're number 1 in passing, DVOA ahead of the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs. Those are the teams we think of as the all great stud quarterback, stud offenses, and the Seahawks are passing better than them. Geno Smith, if you look at EPA and completion over expected, that's a good metric to do an all-in-one quarterback. You got Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen at the top. We all know that. And then it's our guy Geno, and he's actually closer to the two at the top, ahead of Jalen Hurts, ahead of Lamar Jackson. Those are MVP candidates. Geno Smith is not even in the conversation anywhere. By the way, he's number 3 in that metric. The quarterback on the other side in this game, Kyler Murray, number 28. There are 32 teams. So I think the books right now are treating this like Kyler Murray belongs in that Hurts Lamar conversation. Right. And Geno Smith is 28th. Right now, so far, they're flipped. They're playing out the other direction. Seattle, I don't know what's not to like about the offense. The blocking, much better this year. Those rookies have done well. They're running well, like you mentioned, with Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett still catching those moon balls down the field. You know, they're scheming it up and giving Geno a chance. And Seattle right now leads the league in explosive pass play percentage. The Cardinals allow the second most explosive pass plays. I think Seattle dials it up deep, hits some big passes, and offense is more predictive than defense. So I don't know why we're underrating Seattle so much. Defense can come and go, and look, Seattle's defense is not good. I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that they're good, but Arizona's is really not much better. Both secondaries are in rough shape, and I trust Seattle's offense to take advantage much more than I do Arizona right now. So if you look at some of the trends as well, I think I've been on here talking Cliff Kingsbury a few times in the past. Kingsbury is facing a Super Bowl coach in this one. I think you know what that means. Cliff as a favorite, 36% ATS, only 1-3 as a division favorite. Pete Carroll as an underdog, 61% against the spread, 63% after a loss. I don't understand this line. I don't know how Arizona is favored in Seattle, where the 12th man lives and actually gives us a real home field advantage still. I think the line is completely backwards here. I like the Seahawks to cover. I'll take the Seahawks to win outright on the money line. And if you like the futures angles, Seattle team over 5.5, Seattle playoff odds, division odds, I'm buying all of it. Give me the Seahawks. I think this team is wildly underrated right now.
Can I ask you something? And you mentioned that you think offense is more predictive than defense, right? And you say there's no reason to not like the Seattle offense. I agree with you, especially from like the fantasy standpoint. But you talked about their defense. You know, the Seattle offense may be real. The Seattle defense is like real bad. They are last in the league in points allowed. They're last in the league in yards allowed. Is there a level of concern on Seattle on the defensive side? What do you mean when you say it's not as predictive on that side of the ball?
Yeah, it's not as predictive just in week to week. You know, it depends a little bit on what's the other offense look like. You know, right now this week, if Arizona is as blah as I think that they are, and Kyler Murray is playing as poorly as 28th would place him, then maybe your offense just isn't good enough to impact a terrible defense like that. And suddenly you have a pretty good week against them. Like defense by nature is reactive. You can only play defense against what the other teams are doing. And so Seattle has played bad defense. They couldn't tackle Taysom Hill last week. They couldn't stop the Lions from scoring in the 40s. So it's not great. I don't love this team as like, they're not a Super Bowl contender now. With a defense like this, it's not happening. But right now, if you look at like odds to take the number 1 pick in the draft, the Seahawks have about similar odds to the Bears, the Panthers, like the Panthers who just fired their coach a few days ago. And I just think that's insulting. This is the number 1 offense with a quarterback. Like, imagine if you had a team with the number 1 offense and Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert or something like that, and we were just treating them like they were the Panthers or the Bears or one of those teams near the bottom of the league. The defense is not good, but also the offense being good can help your defense and can stay on the field, move the ball, put your defense in better positions and better field position. So I don't think Seattle's defense is going to be great by any stretch, but could they improve from 31st to, high 20s or somewhere in that range as the offense stays good? I don't think Seattle will stay number 1 offensively either, but the offense should continue to produce, especially if Geno keeps playing like this. Quarterbacks are king, and if Geno plays like a king, then he could be the kingmaker here.